Hi guys, it's Reagan again. If you have been tuning in on Tuesdays, you know that I am your Feline Pathway Coordinator for the Humane Society of the Treasure Coast in Palm City, Florida. So our last couple of videos have been about cats specifically, but this week we're going to be talking about senior pets. And anyone that knows me well knows that this is my niche, and this is what I'm really passionate about, among other things. But today we're talking about senior pets. So with us today we have Tyson. He's one of my adopted kiddos, and you also will get to meet Cheyenne in a little bit too. Both of our dogs are seniors. I prefer to adopt the seniors. I think they're really special and they deserve loving homes as much as any other pet does. So I'm going to tell you more about that. So this is Tyson. He is 13, and we adopted him when he was 7 from Orange County Animal Services in Orlando. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to be a senior pet, how age is not a disease. Adopting a senior pet is not the same as adopting a hospice pet. So we'll talk a little bit more about those differences, the benefits of adopting a senior pet, you know what you're getting into, and you'll get to see my cute little munchkins. So that's what we've got going today. So let's start. What is a senior pet? So maybe if you're an adult, we'll let Tyson down. If you're an adult and you go out shopping, maybe you go to Bell's when stores are open, because of course it's COVID, so right now we're all at home. But maybe you've gone to Bell's and you're an adult and they ask you if you're 50 or older, and you let them know yes or no. All right, sorry about that. So you're at Bell's. They're asking you if you're 50 or older, because if you're over 50, you qualify for their senior discount. And you're a little taken aback. You're excited about your discount, but you know that 50 is not that old, and that's because age is just a number. And being a senior, quote unquote, is going to vary depending on who you are and what your genes are and how you act and how active you are, and what you do in your routine. And there's so many factors in being perceived as a senior. So it's the same for pets. If you don't want to be considered a senior at over 50, then maybe don't consider an 8-year-old Chihuahua a senior and on its deathbed or anything crazy like that either. Senior is a category of pets used to mark advancing age, and that's just to help families know when to start monitoring for possible age-related issues. So everybody knows that as you and your pets age, your body's getting older and more age-related issues can come up. So it's just a marker as far as a life stage that you're going to want to start monitoring different things. Generally speaking, in veterinary medicine, animals are considered seniors. Cats and dogs are considered seniors when they're 7 years old or older. However, anybody that has cats or small dogs knows that that's really pretty young still for them. But for large breed dogs or extra large breed dogs, that's definitely going to put you in the senior age bracket. But just around 7 years old is the marker in veterinary medicine for animals that are seniors. With that being said, what's the difference between a senior pet and a hospice pet? So like we just mentioned, a senior pet is a pet within an age group where we're looking for markers for certain age-related diseases or issues to start. A hospice pet is going to be a pet that has a medical condition that is causing the pet to be nearing end of life, right? So hospice care in people is when somebody's really old and they're dying and you're keeping them comfortable until it's time for them to pass. It's the same thing in animals. So you can't have hospice care without palliative care. You've got to be keeping them comfortable if they have an end of life condition, and that's really the big difference between a senior pet and a hospice pet. You could have a young hospice pet if you end up with a 2 or 3-year-old animal that has cancer, or there's been a lot of talk recently about dilated cardiomyopathy in dogs where diets have been causing heart problems that have the animals end up dying from if it's not caught early enough. So you can have a hospice pet that's not a senior. It's going to be any pet that it has a condition that's causing it to be near end of life and requiring extra medical or palliative care related to that disease. And that's a really, really special group of animals too that does sometimes end up at shelters, which is maybe the most heartbreaking to think that this old little babe had a family for its whole life, and then ended up at a shelter alone and trying to stay comfortable when it's at the end of its life. So that's something that's really important for us to work really hard, and for our community to understand that these kiddos, they deserve love and a warm place to lay their head, and people who care about them as well. So a hospice pet is a whole different thing. We could do a whole nother video just on caring for your hospice kiddos, and they're really special. But today's video is just about regular, good old senior pets, 7 and up. They're not puppies, they're not kittens, but they are wonderful pets still. So senior pets can have illnesses or diseases or issues related to their age that are not life-ending, and they don't, throughout the course of treatment, necessarily mean that death is imminent. So one of the most common diseases in animals that are seniors across species is arthritis. And that can be said for people too. As they get old, their joints get creaky, things don't work as well, maybe they have a hard time going up the stairs or jumping up on the couch. So that's something that can be really easily managed with anti-inflammatory medication. You can also help with supplements with their food. You always want to work closely with your vet, with your senior pets, to work on getting medications and supplements and diet where they should be, to help your pet continue thriving through its senior years. So throughout this, we might mention some supplements or treatments that you can do with your kiddos, and you always want to work really closely with your vet to see if that's appropriate for your situation, and perhaps if your pet is on any medications, you want to make sure your supplements aren't going to interfere with those medications or cause any issues. So regular vet care is really important for your senior kiddos. So one big question is, aren't senior pets unhealthy and expensive to care for? I don't want to adopt a senior pet because it's going to mean big vet bills. And point blank, age isn't a disease. Tyson is 13 and Cheyenne is 15, and they have some mild heart issues going on. They both have heart murmurs, which really is common in small dogs, especially seniors, and we monitor it and they're fine. But it's not a disease. And just because they're old doesn't mean they're expensive. We do our regular vet checks, and as always, we recommend at least annual blood work. For some seniors, we want to do blood work twice a year. But other than that, they're normal kiddos. They run around outside, they sleep a lot, which is great. They're pretty calm, but they're normal babes. And they're not more expensive to care for than any other pet that I've had. So while senior pets can develop age-related issues like arthritis or kidney disease or things that will require special diets or supplements, and we want to be able to provide all of those things for them to live happy, healthy, and active lives, unless you're specifically looking for a special needs or a hospice pet, most seniors in shelters they're just older than the other pets in shelters. That's it. They're just older. It's also a misnomer to say that seniors are going to be more expensive. Puppies and kittens are notorious for getting into trouble, jumping off of things and breaking bones, or getting into something that they shouldn't, and like your Easter candy, and then they have a big vet bill for that. There's more vaccines that you need initially for puppies and kittens. Your seniors are going to just need their regular ones annually. And puppies and kittens are a lot more susceptible to a lot of diseases as well, like parvo, which can rack up a really expensive vet bill too. So it's a misnomer to assume that senior pets are any more expensive in general than your younger kiddos. So that brings us to how to care for your senior pet. Like I've said, senior pets are pretty much the same as other pets, but as their bodies grow older, you'll want to help supplement them a little bit more. They have different needs. So maybe your dog that when it was 1 or 2 would go on a 3-mile run with you every day. Probably once they're 13 or 14, they're not going to want to run as long. That doesn't mean they're not going to run with you, but maybe your runs with them are going to have to be shorter. You'll see visible signs of old age, of course, graying muzzles. They walk a little bit slower sometimes, or maybe they'll struggle to jump up onto furniture and that type of thing. But it's also important that as you're seeing these changes, you want to monitor them with your vet because their organ systems are also changing. So while seniors are not necessarily more expensive, we do want to watch closely for diseases like kidney disease, heart disease, liver disease, cancers, arthritis, things like that. These can definitely be managed affordably and appropriately with diet and sometimes supplement or medication. Just regular veterinary care is going to be important. Make sure you get in for that annual. Make sure that your vet's on the same page with what you're seeing. Tell them what you're seeing at home so that they know. And ask about natural things that you can do for them too. Like even just adding turmeric to their food daily can be a big help with a lot of issues. Making sure they're on a high quality diet, which you want to ask your vet about as well. They can give you all the best advice for not only prescription diets, but what regular over-the-counter diets are going to be appropriate for your pet too. So having a really good diet for them is important. Making sure they're comfy. Good exercise is going to be important, especially for their cognitive health. A lot of dogs can actually end up having cognitive decline as they age. And keeping them active and fit is going to be really helpful in preventing that from getting any worse. So proper care for your senior pet is proper care for any pet. Just make sure that they're having regular vet visits and note any little changes. Behavior changes can be important even if you're not sure. They could be vocalizing more, or maybe they used to really like your other dog and they don't like your other dog anymore, or you have a cat that was never snuggly and now they're very snuggly, or vice versa. There are a lot of little signs that you want to be watching for to make sure that there's not any big underlying changes that you need to be taking care of. So there's a stigma around senior pets, and when they end up at the shelter, a lot of times it's harder for them to get adopted. People say things like they'll cost me a fortune in vet bills, or they're not trainable, or they're not active, or he's never going to want to play, all kinds of things. You can't teach a dog new tricks, or that cat already has problems and that's why it came here, and that's just not the case. A lot of animals end up at the shelter for no fault of their own, especially seniors, and it's not fair for them to sit there longer because people have preconceived notions that are not true. So, like we said earlier, pets can have expensive vet bills at any time during their lives. Senior pets are trainable, as well as any pet is trainable. Tyson knows how to dance, he knows how to sit, lay, and give paw. We taught him all of those things after we adopted him, and he was already 7, so he was already in that senior category when we got him. The really cool part is that some dogs come preloaded with tricks, right? So your senior kiddos, most of them already know at least how to sit. But a lot of them have already been through basic puppy class. They already know their commands. They already have manners, which is huge. So it's not right to think that you can't teach them new things, and it's important to also think that they might already know a lot of things and you don't have to work very hard getting them to have good manners. Senior pets can also be just as active and playful as other groups. Cheyenne will take me on longer walks than any dog I've ever had. She loves to run around in the backyard. She runs so much faster than I ever will. Tyson has his dinosaur toy that he got the day we adopted him, and he will play with that thing when he is so excited, and it's adorable. And usually their activity is just in shorter bursts. So when you bring home a new puppy and it wants to play all the time, right? That's great and fun, and it's really cool if you have kids that can wear them out. But in general, I don't know about you guys, but if I work a 9-hour day and then I get home and I have to cook dinner and I have to get myself ready and it's almost bedtime, and maybe I have some emails to answer, having a dog that only wants 20 or 30 minutes of playtime versus all night of playtime is great. because then I don't feel like they are being deprived of anything they want, and I also don't feel like I don't have enough time to give them the care that they need. So it's always something important to consider. They do like playing, but maybe a little bit less and a little bit more manageable amount. The biggest reason, though, that we hear that people don't want to adopt senior pets is that they're worried about having to say goodbye too soon, and they don't think they want to open themselves up to that heartbreak. So first and foremost, if you're adopting a dog that's only 7 years old and it's not special needs and it's not got a hospice condition, you're going to have several years with that pet more than likely. There are seniors at the younger end of the scale that have many, many years ahead of them. And then there are seniors, Cheyenne, we adopted when she was 12 already, and now she's 15. So we've already got 3 good years under our belt with her. And from the looks of it, plenty more to come. So it's not fair to say, I'm not going to adopt them because they maybe will die sooner than if I adopted a younger pet. And I think it's really important to remember, too, that anytime you have a relationship with a living thing, whether it's young or old, your heart can get broken. Young pets can have issues come up and pass away, too. We never know what's going to happen. But even if you only have 2 or 3 good years with your senior pet that you've adopted, that's 2 or 3 wonderful years, and they filled your heart. And even though it was shorter than we wanted, and it's always shorter than we wanted, I could have 20 years with every dog I ever have, and it would always be too short. We shouldn't deprive them or ourselves of that love because we're scared to lose it. And I think that's a lesson always. Better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. I think that's really important to remember, as especially these guys end up at the shelter at no fault of their own most of the time, and for them to be overlooked and spend even a few minutes extra without a home and a family that loves them just because they're older is really sad. So we don't want to do that. Better to have loved and lost than never love at all. So that's our mantra for adopting senior kiddos. So then just a few more benefits of adopting a senior pet. We already talked about several of them, but what you see is what you get. When you go to the shelter and you pick out a kitten or you pick out a puppy, they're adorable and they're tiny and they're cute and they're perfect, but they have a lot of growing up to do, right? So you have to teach them all of their commands. You're going to have to teach them all of the rules, and they're going to grow. And for dogs especially, you don't necessarily know how much they're going to grow. So they're going to grow and they're going to develop their personalities, which is great. We love to see them grow and develop their personalities and become little creatures that we love. But if you go to the shelter and you meet with an adult or a senior pet and you just absolutely fall in love with its personality, that's their personality. They've already established that. They're grown. So what you see is what you get, and that's a really big thing for some people. A lot of them are already trained, house trained, or command trained, those types of things. And they're a lot less likely to tear down your curtains or chew up your shoes or rip apart your sofa. Generally, adult animals are just a lot more content. They don't need as much stimulus. And it goes back to when you get home from your 9-hour day and your puppy's been alone in the crate all day and he just wants to play and run and do stuff. He's going to get destructive if he's not getting the enrichment that he needs. And that's true for an adult animal too. But seniors generally need less stimulus to feel fully enriched. And while it can be really hard to not have 20 years with the new pet that you're adopting, not everybody's ready for a 10 to 20 year commitment when they're adopting an animal. So when you're adopting a senior, you're making a lifelong commitment still for the rest of their life, but that lifelong commitment could be a couple of years versus 15 years. So that's something important to think about too, depending on the point you are in your life. Having a 3 or 4 year commitment could be a much better fit for you. But I think ultimately our friends at Science Diet really do say it best. Senior pet adoptions give you the opportunity to choose the personality that perfectly fits your lifestyle, and you can feel great about giving a pet a forever home in its golden years. And that's just really, I think that hits it home, and that is completely true, and just a really great statement about senior pets. So hopefully I've answered a lot of questions for you guys or made you consider adopting a senior animal. I will encourage you to ask if you have any questions. If adopting a senior still sounds scary to you, ask us any questions that you have. What about it sounds scary, or what about it could we help you? Could we help convince you that maybe a senior pet is right for you? You can drop a comment in the comments box here on Facebook anytime, or you could shoot us an email. If you've got cat questions, you can email us at catfoster@hstc1.org, or if you have dog questions, you can email us at dogfoster@hstc1.org. And if you give me just a minute, I'm going to go get Cheyenne, as promised. All right, this is Cheyenne. She's my beautiful princess. She hates being on camera. We adopted her from the Humane Society of the Treasure Coast 3 years ago now, I think. She is 15, and she does have a heart murmur, but no other health issues. She loves to run and play and snack, and especially cuddle. She's the best cuddler. She loves to climb on top of all of the pillows or all of the laundry, and she just wants to be with us all the time. She's my little shadow. So if I can't convince you to adopt a senior pet, perhaps adorable Cheyenne can. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Let us know if you have any questions, and if you need help with your senior pet, give us a holler. If you have questions about what direction to go in or anything like that, just holler. Again, our emails are catfoster@hstc1.org or dogfoster@hstc1.org, or you could comment on this video. Be sure to share. We want to get all our senior kiddos into homes. And don't forget, this coming Tuesday, May 5th, is Giving Tuesday Now. This is a great opportunity for you to donate to HSTC and help us continue saving all kinds of animal lives, but especially our precious little senior kiddos. So if you're interested in more information on that, you can head over to the Humane Society of the Treasure Coast website, hstc1.org, or our Facebook page. Thanks, guys.